Good morning and welcome to Christian Education Today. I'm Pastor Calvin Lindstrom. Our subject today, be not conformed. Be not conformed. Perhaps you recognize the reference to Romans 12 and verses 1 and 2. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Well, this should be verses 1 and 2. I'll make a little correction there. If you're familiar with the book of Romans, chapter 12 is the portion of this wonderful book where we might call it the application section of the book of Romans. Not that the first 11 chapters have no application, but the rich doctrine now is brought to its culmination. The commands now are given in greater number. To beseech, we have here in verse 1. To beseech is a common word used in the epistles, a word of exhortation. Sometimes the idea is encouragement. It could be rebuke. Notice here, Paul, in light of the glorious truth that has been presented, there is still a strong call that is given to us that we live in accordance with the message of the gospel. There is a struggle, not in terms of our salvation, not to earn God's favor, but in light of God's love and favor. There is a challenge. We do not do these things naturally. We are to present our bodies a living sacrifice. That is not something that you do on your own. That's not something that you will ever do naturally. It has to be commanded. I believe we can see from this that the goal of the Christian life is not simply to escape, but rather to serve. The idea of a living sacrifice does not mean we just run off to our own world, but that we are seeking to serve the Lord. But we have to be holy. We have to offer our bodies according to God's commandment. This is our reasonable service. The word behind reasonable is where we get our word logic. This is what God expects of us. Spiritual is another way of understanding this word. Then here is the other command then. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That, the goal, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Here then is the challenge. We are in the world, but not of the world. There is, in the first century, there was a danger that believers would be shaped by the world. And don't we face that now? Isn't this the great challenge? Is this not why we are seeking to have our children trained in God's truth? We don't want them to be conformed to this world. And so here we must stand against all forms of perverse education, but also entertainment. The world is seeking to conform our children. We know that. And so we must seek that they be transformed. Our minds need to be renewed so that we know how to serve God, so that we know how to offer our bodies a living sacrifice. This is a great challenge then to set before your children. Again, the words of Jesus that we are to be in the world, but not of the world. We're not just seeking to escape, but we have to resist the tremendous pressures of this world to be conformed. Well, friends, this is the beautiful calling of the Christian life. This is the wonderful challenge that is set before us, and I love the challenge. It's not an easy thing, but by God's grace, through the Holy Spirit, this is what we have the privilege of doing. May the Lord bless and encourage you and your family in this wonderful pursuit for His glory. Have a wonderful day. God bless.